This week I need to begin this video with a trigger warning because what I'm going to explain is something that divides so many people in the time management and productivity field. But I think it's time for me to stake my principles to the ground and to explain why you do not want to be doing this trick, and more importantly, you do not want to be asking your app, whoever the developer is, for them to do this or allow you to do this because you are just not going to help yourself. Now, you may disagree with me, and that's great because without disagreement, this world would be an incredibly boring place. So by all means, disagree with me. Put your feelings about it in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to read them, although because it also triggers me, I'm probably not going to respond in this case. But then again, you might hit the nerve and I might respond. So without any further ado, let's go into my Todoist and my calendar. But I should point out, this does not matter what task list or to-do list you are using because the principle remains the same no matter what you're using. So let's get into my Todoist and my calendar, and I'm going to show you why you should not be doing what I think a lot of people hope and wish they could do if they are not already doing it. Now, before we get into where I can demonstrate why this is not going to work, what we first need to do is to define what a task is and what an event is. Now, a task is something that's discretionary. By its very nature, a task can be done at any time in the day, perhaps in the morning, perhaps in the afternoon, maybe it needs doing in the evening. It might not even need to be done on a specific day as long as it happens perhaps this week or even next week. It doesn't really matter. That's the very nature of a task. The only thing a task is that at some point it probably needs doing. However, an event on the other side is something that needs to happen at a specific time on a specific day. Now that could involve a person or perhaps a place. You need to be at a certain place at a certain time in order to do a type of task. Very, very different from a task on its own. But this is the two things that we need to be able to do. We need to define what an event is, something that needs to be done at a specific time on a specific day, and a task which can be done at any time, sometimes on a specific day, other times perhaps it can be done anytime as long as it gets done. Now, with that definition out of the way, let's go in and I'll explain where we have a problem if you try to turn tasks into events. Okay, let's go in and have a look. Okay, so here I have a calendar set for the all-day view. So what we see, and this could be a typical day, this could be for anybody. I've modified it so it looks more realistic for the way perhaps your day would look like as opposed to my day. And we got essentially a start time at 7 a.m. and we have a work finishing time at 6 p.m. although we do have some exercise to do at 7 p.m. Now this could be the other way round. You may decide to do your exercise in the morning and your routines in the morning, whatever. You may not decide not to do either of those. That's rather irrelevant. But let's have a look at this typical working day. Now, I left in here, say I have a coaching session with some of my team or perhaps somebody I'm onboarding at work. And then I've got three 3-hour meetings, and of course I need time to deal with my communications and my admin time. So what does that leave me? Well, that leaves me with about an hour and 15 minutes here and about an hour and 45 minutes here, and then I've got a roughly 45-minute gap there, and perhaps if I want to work until 7 p.m, which I probably don't, I get another hour at the end of the day. So that's great. This day looks pretty workable. But what have we got? We've lost 3 hours to start with because of the meetings, or perhaps 4 hours if you like, because of the meetings. We also have 2 hours for what I would describe as admin and communication time. These are just the things that, well, whether you like it or not, You're going to get messages, you're going to get email. You can fight it if you wish, but that's inevitable. So we're going to need an hour at least to deal with those. And admin are just all those little bits that we have to deal with. So that's how a day would probably typically look like. Now, of course, you could start moving this around and say, oh, I'll do my communication after my, perhaps I'll do it after 3:15, after this meeting, or I may do it at 12 o'clock. I mean, you can move these things around. The thing is, this is inevitable because of the time that you have to do it. Okay, so that's that done. Now, the problem I see is that people say, oh, I really want to be able to put all my tasks onto my calendar. Well, do you? Because when I do my coaching programs, I have to point out that this is what I typically see. I see people with this kind of number of tasks that need to be done in a day. Now we have a bit of a problem because, well, let's say I've got to send this presentation to Jenny. It must happen. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to work. It's not going to work. I thought if I was using reminders, I could just drag this onto here. But let's just say send this presentation to Jenny. Now it's not going to allow me to do that. But what I could do if I wanted to is some of these tasks I could move on here. So let's just give you an example. If I go into my reminders, which is a demo account, we have something quite similar here. So let's just go into here and say, I've got to sort out my tax location issues, for example. Well, I can drag that on into my calendar and I can drop it in here, which is great. Okay, so now I've got sort out tax location issues, and I'm going to do that at 9 a.m. Now I have a bit of a problem here because, well, how long does this actually take? Because that's another thing about tasks. We don't really know how long they're going to take. I mean, I don't know whether this is going to be a 5-minute task or a 15-minute task. All I know is it needs doing. I could say, oh, I really got to do this. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller for you. What I could do is say, oh, this needs to be done at some point today, so I'm going to drag that in there. Well, again, do I really need to spend an hour on this? I mean, something like this, to be honest, I'm probably going to need to spend 2 hours on at least, or in this case, an hour and 15 minutes. Well, once I've done that, the problem I've got now is, well, where else am I going to do these, how many have we got today? 16 tasks in reminders. I mean, this is where we suddenly have a problem. And I'm not going to be able to do anything else really looking at this and looking at this list. Now, a lot of these, like finalize list of virtual assistant candidates, a demo account item. But again, where do I have the time to do this? So it's at the very most, I could probably squeeze in, well, let's just say we'll do that one. We'll just squeeze that one into this bit here. So now essentially my day is full. And I've only been able to put 3 tasks in there, but I have 16 tasks to do. Some of these tasks are going to take 2 minutes. Some of these tasks are going to take 30 minutes. This is where the problem is when you have a situation where you want to put your tasks onto your calendar. It doesn't really work like that. Now, what you can do, and what often I do, is I will separate things out. So as you saw, I'm just remove these because this would make me cry when I see my calendar like this. So what you want to be doing instead is a little simple trick, which I actually did in a recent video, but I want to show you this. I've got admin time here. This is something I just have to do every single day. In reminders, I have my admin folder. This is today's admin. Now I can just say, it's admin time. I can go into my task and I can have a look at my admin right there. Now, the thing is, I can do the same with Todoist. If I go back to Todoist, because this one is something that is probably a lot easier. Todoist, for example, I mean, I can see my list here, 36 tasks, but if I go into my section here and I group things by label, now I can see, right, now I've got categories of work. Go down to the bottom here and I've got nothing for admin. Actually, admin really would be for really what would come under chores. But let's have a look here. I've got my communication times here and I've got an hour for communication there. So I know on any given day that at 4 p.m. it's time for me to go in and do my communications. All I need to do is go in and say, right, here are my communication tasks to do. I've got an hour, let's get on and do with them. Now, I've also got email to deal with and messages. But the beauty of it this way is I can now organize my day according to what are my non-negotiables and, for example, the meetings, and then what other time have I got. So when I start the day, I think, oh, between 9 and 10:15, I've got a gap. What can I do in that time? I know what, I will do some writing time. So if I just go writing time, and that's in. It's now into my, I'm going to give myself a 15-minute break. So that gives me writing time for an hour. Now, all I need to do when I come to it is go to my writing list here. I've got a list of things that I need to write. Now, I'm not going to get them all done, but it really doesn't matter so much because ultimately the calendar is the driver of the day. One thing I do know is there's no way I can do 36 tasks today. That's just not going to happen. If I try and move them all onto my calendar, well, I'm going to be working 24 hours. It's not going to happen. So this is the reason why I strongly recommend that you keep your tasks and your calendar, your events, separate, because that way the calendar remains doable. It makes it possible for things to happen. Whereas if you try and build everything into that one place, the calendar, it just is completely overwhelmed and you'll be stressed out before the day even starts. And I should point out, you only need one overrunning meeting or to bump into somebody in the corridor, in the office, and you're screwed. I mean, your whole plan's gone. It's gone. Don't risk it. Keep the calendar separate and your tasks separate. But use categories of work to block out times for working on those categories. Now, that's my argument against having tasks in your calendar. Tasks are discretionary. They can be done at any time in the day. You don't need to have specific times. If you do, well, it's not a task anymore. It becomes an event, and then you can set it up in your calendar, not your task manager. Now, I hope I've clarified things a little bit here. I know I've probably upset a lot of people. I know the comments are just going to blow up. Well, okay, if I still haven't convinced you, I know I'm not going to convince you, and that's perfectly okay. Let's just agree to disagree. I hope this has been a little bit more enlightening for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Now, before we finish, I should point out that the next video I strongly recommend you watch is this video up here.